Welcome to video 2 of our Narrative and Nostalgia Visual Literacy. So let's look at the importance of perspective for your composition. Having a vanishing point in your distance on your horizon line will create a lovely sense of depth. You can have a one-point perspective. So if you can see on like examples on the left, that goes to one vanishing point, but you can have multiple vanishing points. And then there's different kinds of perspectives, different angles that you're going to be looking at. So you can see this is a really low angle, that's a high angle, so bird's eye and a worm's eye view, which we'll talk about just now. There are different kinds of perspectives. This is a radial perspective in the middle, your linear perspective, and your atmospheric perspective. So lines in your composition draw you as objects get smaller with your linear perspective, and how gradients of tone and landscape for your atmospheric. Your light source is your friend with visual communication. It can help you create a mood, guide your audience, and here it has added more context to the illustration on the left with the use of the shadow. Once you understand how perspective works, you'll begin understanding the basics of how a shadow will fall in relation to the object and how it is seen from various angles and perspectives. So it can be really used as a tool to highlight your focal point and to create a lovely sense of illumination. Be aware of the direction that your characters are looking. This will give your audience an eye to the next visual clue of your narrative. I love the image of the little girl and the dog looking up at the biscuits. Here you can see the witch is clearly looking at the footprints and how they lead you out and beyond. And here this little character is even pointing, so giving another visual clue to like what's going to happen in the next part of the narrative. Okay, perspective and camera angles. Let's have a look at those. Illustration requires you to become a bit of an actor, so try and imagine that your audience is the camera, and the angle of that camera will help your audience read out your illustration. So here are some different camera angles to consider for your illustration, and I'll show you some fun bird's eye view and worm's eye view perspectives now. This is quite lovely. Can you see how from a lower angle you're almost looking like a sneaky mouse into that scene? This is a great illustration trick. If you have a little character like a figurine and you put it down onto a chessboard or just a piece of paper with lines on it, and you lift that piece of paper up above your line of vision, lower than your line of vision, it gives you a sense of that camera angle and a physical model to guide you. So let's look at some camera angles. A high camera, you can actually be introduced into what your character is looking at, as well as above. It's quite a lovely sort of thing to use. Very extreme, guys, these angles. Now you're looking at like something from below. This is usually used with like an ominous kind of vibe. So can you see here, it almost looks quite intimidating seen from below. But it can also be used as a power pose. So here we go, power pose of Batman. Look how the whole floor is twisted with this one. Very clever perspective, that one. Can your scene be broken up into different perspectives, like a comic? Yes. You can go from one scene or break it up into little parts. Can you see how this focuses on the feet, the tactile quality of the feet, but then you get a lovely overall picture in the background of what's happening for the entire scene. Look at how one scene can be animated by using 1 or 2 frames. This is a great tool to use if you want your audience to witness a brief build-up to a scene or add an extra visual clue that would assist in the narrative in some way. Have a look at this picture here, how the camera focuses in on her fingers. You can almost feel that plant yourself, but then it zooms out again and you can see her in the whole perspective of the bushes around her. Also look at this one. All of these, there's different elements of the story added into one continuous image like that. It's very cleverly done, so you can put a whole lot of things together. Going back to one frame, can one frame display more than one mood? Absolutely. Have a look at this image here. The color in the background all has that same sort of tone, except for the main character. The mood in the background generally has this rushed, oppressive kind of feeling, but the character itself, she's happy, the birds are flying, they're symbolic of her freedom, the colors are joyful. Look at the body language of all the characters in contrast to her. Visual communication. Letting the image speak for itself. Illustration is a great design tool. It allows people to understand your message even if they do not speak your language. Some messages can be made clear across cultural and social divides. So it's a great tool to learn how to use. illustration just by itself is really powerful. It shows like it makes you feel that frustration, that trap kind of feeling, and then you look at the bottom of that figure and then there's no sense of body there, so it adds that element of mystery. So there's so many different styles. This is quite surreal, a lot of collage, mixed media, and so it draws you in. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope that you had fun listening to it, and good luck with your illustration.